Welcome to Echo of Crime YouTube channel. The officer everyone trusted. The Lauderdale County Jail in Florence, Alabama, was quiet that Friday morning, April 29, 2022. Officers followed their routines, doors buzzed open, inmates lined up for breakfast. Nothing seemed unusual. And yet, at exactly 9:30 a.m., Assistant Director Vicky White, a veteran officer with nearly 20 years of spotless service, walked through the gates leading a tall, shackled inmate named Caseywhite. She told her colleagues she was taking him for a mental health evaluation at the courthouse. Standard procedure. No one questioned it. After all, this was Vicky, the dependable one, the one who trained half the officers there. But what they didn't know was that there was no court appointment scheduled for that day. Hours passed. The jail tried calling her radio. No answer. The courthouse called back. No record of a transport order. That's when the truth began to sink in. Vicky White, the department's most trusted officer, and Caseywhite, a man serving 75 years for attempted murder and awaiting trial for another killing, had vanished together. By noon, her patrol car was found abandoned in a parking lot. No sign of struggle. No sign of where they'd gone. Just an eerie calm, like it had all been planned for months. And it had. Because behind the calm surface of a loyal officer, Vicky had been living a secret double life. She'd been visiting Casey alone, sending him money, even selling her house to fund their escape. The woman who enforced the law had just broken every rule she swore to uphold. As investigators searched her empty office, they found something that made every officer in the room go silent: a set of retirement papers and a handwritten note with a single name: Casey. By the afternoon of April 29, 2022, the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force was already on high alert. News had broken. A corrections officer helped an inmate escape. Across Alabama, squad cars lined highways, helicopters circled rural roads, and checkpoints popped up in every direction. But Vicky and Casey were ghosts. They had switched to a Ford Edge SUV. One Vicky had bought secretly under an alias. Surveillance footage later showed her at a shopping center, calmly walking through the parking lot just hours before the escape, alone, carrying no emotion, no panic. She knew exactly what she was doing. Days turned into nights, and leads went cold. Casey, a man standing 6'9", was nearly impossible to hide, yet they managed it. They drove north, sleeping in parking lots, staying off major roads, and using burner phones. Vicky had withdrawn $90,000 in cash from her bank accounts. She wasn't kidnapped. She wasn't coerced. She was running away with him. Inside the jail, her coworkers were in disbelief. One deputy told reporters, "She was like family. We ate lunch together every day. None of us saw this coming." The manhunt spread across Tennessee, Kentucky, and Indiana. Tips flooded in: fake sightings, wrong vehicles, dead ends. Until day 11, when a tip from a car wash manager in Evansville, Indiana, changed everything. He had spotted a 2006 Cadillac that looked suspicious. Inside, a tall man matching Casey's description. The marshals staked out a nearby motel. The tension was unreal. They were minutes from closing in on an officer who had once trained many of them. When the marshals moved in for the arrest, the suspects bolted. A high-speed chase tore through Indiana's quiet streets. Then, suddenly, the Cadillac flipped into a ditch. Caseywhite climbed out, covered in glass, screaming for help. But inside the car, officers found Vicky White, unresponsive, holding a gun. The woman who had been everyone's hero had just become the ending to her own story. The moment the Cadillac flipped into the ditch, law enforcement swarmed the scene. Sirens blared, radios cracked, and officers rushed forward. Caseywhite, shaken and bloodied, crawled out of the passenger side shouting, "Help my wife," she shot herself. Vicky was rushed from wreckage, still breathing, but fading fast. She had pressed the trigger before officers reached her. Minutes later, at the hospital, she was pronounced dead. She was 56 years old. Investigators found the gun, several wigs, fake IDs, and over $29,000 in cash inside the car. The remains of the life they planned to start together. In Casey's words, "She was the best friend I ever had." to the world. She had been the trusted officer who turned into an outlaw. After her death, the FBI and U.S. Marshals pieced together every move leading up to the escape. Vicky had sold her house for far below its value, bought getaway vehicles under fake names, and quietly transferred her retirement funds. She had even told coworkers she planned to retire that very day. In the weeks before, she'd made special requests: more time with Casey, transport assignments no one questioned. Every detail, every step had been part of her plan. But behind that plan was something darker: manipulation and loneliness. Investigators believe Caseywhite, a career criminal with a history of deception, gained her trust through months of emotional grooming. Whether it was love or control, we may never know. But what's clear is that Vicky risked everything for a man who would go back behind bars within hours of her death. Today, Caseywhite remains in an Alabama state prison, serving a life sentence. The story of Vicky and Caseywhite continues to haunt the American justice system, not because it was violent, but because it showed how even the strongest walls can fall when emotion replaces judgment. Sometimes the scariest crimes aren't about monsters in the dark. They're about the people we trust the most.